I earned good money, maybe too quickly in my life, and then decided one day that my life was finished. I needed a little bit more adventure. I needed something else in my life. It wasn't money that made me happy and having a house and the newest car. I needed adventure. So my name is Mike Horn and I'm a professional explorer, born in South Africa a long time ago, about 57 years ago, and currently living in Switzerland. My first explorations took me to the Amazon jungle, where I swam down the entire length of the Amazon River for 7,000 kilometers. And then I had a dream of following the equator around the world. So in 1999, I did the first circumnavigation of the world, unmotorized, crossing the oceans with a small sailing boat and all the continents and the islands of Indonesia on foot. And then I got tired of the warmer climates, and I decided to focus on the polar regions. And in 2006, I did an expedition where I became the first person in the world with a Norwegian explorer to go to the North Pole during winter. I did a circumnavigation of the world along the Arctic Circle that took me 2 years and 3 months alone. Then I decided to climb some of the highest mountains in the world. And as I climb without oxygen in an alpine style, just with another friend of mine that's a very good Himalayist, I managed to summit 4 8,000 meter peaks without oxygen. And then for me, the South Pole was obviously one of my big dreams, and I did the first ever crossing of the entire continent of the South Pole, and then did the entire traverse of the North Pole. So for more than 32 years, I lived my life outside, and I've been passionate about the environment and what we are experiencing lately in the planet being threatened by human behavior. I was really lucky to have I've had parents that allowed me to have a lot of freedom. And when you do have a lot of freedom, then you can develop what you love doing. And I had one rule that was given to me from a very young age, was that at 6 o'clock at night I have to be at home. So my mother always said, you can leave home, but you have to come back in the same way that you left home. And being able to have as much freedom taught me a lot of responsibility at a very young age. And my father, being a professor at a university, and my mother in the world of education as well, understood very quickly that by trying to control what I wanted to do made me half the man that I could have been. And I always came back home at 6 o'clock, respecting the one rule that I had, and then I could share with my father what I lived through the day and what I did, and he was always there to listen to me. So that is exactly how he knew where I was and what I was doing. And then I would say, yes, I was trying to swim across this river and I couldn't get across. And then he said, okay, tomorrow I will take you and I will show you how it will be done. So he let me live my experiences, and then he taught me how to make these experiences safe and sure, as he was as well a South African rugby player, sportive personality. He was really well respected by the people. When we walked down the streets, people would come and congratulate him on how he played and for the team that he was playing for. He was an iconic figure. And as a father, having a lot of me as a kid being inspired by him, I thought that, one day maybe why not be like him? But one day when I told him that maybe I would like to be him, my father just said, Mike, you cannot be me. You have to be who you are. That's the easiest person to be. And then I said, but you inspire me. And he said, actually, Mike, no, I'm inspired by you, and I can see that you can be much bigger and better than I would ever be. And all I did as a young kid was believe what he said. And that led me to self-confidence, to be able to go out there and explore the world like I'm doing today. So in South Africa, I was brought up during the period of apartheid, and South Africans couldn't participate in sport anywhere around the world. And then we had as well 2 years obligatory military service. We were fighting the proxy war in Angola, and South Africa was in a very difficult situation in the African Bush War, fighting against Russian insurgents supported by the US. And that made me understand that if I can do the best in what I do, then I can make a difference. So when I finished school, I had to do my obligatory military service for 2 years, where I was fighting in the war in Angola. When I came back after my 2 years of obligatory military service, I went and studied sport injuries and sport psychology. Then at 17 or 18 years old, before I went to the military, I lost my father. And I kind of felt that I needed my father to support me in many ways that I had doubt and that I had unanswered questions. But when he died, he said that, Mike, I brought you up to be able to as well take care of the family, and I know that you will take good care of them. So everything I did was with the responsibility of taking care and replacing my father as an icon. And that led me to study sport psychology and sport injuries, and then do a master's degree in market management. And while I was doing my master's degree, working for a family company, I earned good money, maybe too quickly in my life, and then decided one day that my life was finished. I needed a little bit more adventure. I needed something else in my life. It wasn't money that made me happy and having a house and the newest car. I needed adventure. And then I went to my uncle while I was working in this family company, and I said to him that I need to leave. And he said, Mike, leave now, because if you feel you should go, this is the moment you should go. Don't wait for tomorrow or for the next month or the next week. And then in that day I left, I went to the airport, and at that stage South Africans were boycotted. We couldn't travel around the world. And the only place that I could go to was England, Switzerland, and Israel. And I went to the airport. There was one flight to Israel, no space, and the second flight took me to Switzerland, and that's where I live today. I think I have constant fear in my life, and fear keeps me alive. But fear is not a negative element to my life. Like, a lot of people do not want to be afraid, so they only stay in their comfort zone, and they live a life where they control all the circumstances that would make them afraid. But fear has become my home. Fear is what I need inside myself to feel alive. And when I do expeditions like the crossing of the North Pole, that has been done only by me and my partner, and the crossing of the South Pole that I'm still the only man in the world to have crossed entirely the South Pole. I'm afraid of my dreams when I think of doing it, and then I try and build myself up with knowledge and experience to make that dream become reality. So the fear moment is when you realize that what you're dreaming of is actually much bigger than what you think you can do. And then, because nobody else has done it before, it becomes that moment of, why do you think you can do it and others cannot do it? And that's where you need to be able to have the confidence in yourself that fear will be what protects you from dying. And as an explorer, starting my life very young, leaving home at 10 years old, I cycled 300 kilometers and not knowing what the outcome would be. I love that uncertainty. That uncertainty is what makes me feel alive. But then I understood very quickly that there's a lot of sacrifice that goes with this. There's a lot of doubt and uncertainty. There's a lot of moments that you think, but why am I doing what I'm really doing? Because if I make one mistake, I don't lose money. I don't lose a reputation. I lose a life. And that is, to me, the moment that I start feeling alive, because when you live very close to death, you have that feeling of being alive. Well, for me, there's nothing in between death or being alive. Either you're dead or you're alive. So I live close moments from fighting the war in Angola to swimming down the Amazon and being sucked underneath a river that knocked my head, and I was unconscious, and I found myself on the side of the river, and I don't even know how I got there. And to a moment that during latitude 0, I was put in front of a death squad in Congo, that they shot the person next to me, and they didn't shoot me first. To a moment that I fell into the water at -40 in the Arctic Ocean, and each time you know that these risks that you take are life-threatening risks, and you hope that it would not happen. But the moment that it happens, that is the moment that you have to be able to understand that you will do anything to stay alive. Not only an explorer, but any of us that is put in a circumstance that we need to survive. That's when the best will come out of us. And for me as an explorer, is not I'm not looking for that moment. I'm looking to find solutions for the moment to make my life as long as possible. I think having a family gave me more reason to stay alive. So, and my wife that I was married with for 28 years, unfortunately died of cancer. When you really love somebody and you lose somebody that's really important, you don't want to take any more risk, because you've only got your children and you've got to take care of them. And because I have daughters that knew me as an explorer and not somebody that was at home, came to me after I lost my wife and said, but you've lost the sparkle in your eyes. We lost our father, and now you're at home, and we don't want you at home. We know you as the man that climbs the mountains, as the man that swims down the jungle. And they said, we will support you in what you do, and you've brought us up in a way that we can take care of ourselves. So go out and go back and go into exploration. And that to me was 100% love. If you love somebody, you set them free, because by trying to keep them where you want them is not unconditional love. So for me, when my wife always asked me to come back alive, that was my main priority. My priority was for the freedom that she gave me, that she knew pretty well that if I make a mistake that I would pass away, but that I will do everything to stay alive to come back. So this is the way that our family was brought up. And in many ways, what happened today is that my kids, the ones that I love the most, are following in my footsteps to be able to as well understand the world of an explorer. When I started exploring, unfortunately, we didn't have all the social media platforms to be able to tell the world what you're doing. So we relied 100% on television and then on press. So today it's evolved into an easier way to tell your story on the social media platforms. But I'm old generation. I'm nearly 60 years old, and in many ways I was in the high point of my life with no social media platform, but it created a lot of interest in what I did. So what we could do is we could write books, and I loved writing books to share my experience with others. And when somebody told me, and they would handwrite a letter to me or send an email that they read my book and it inspired them to go and do things, I love that part of it. I love the inspiration that you can give to other people. Sometimes just to say, one life has 30,000 days. Half the time you sleep. And 30,000 days to the age of 82 years old is not a lot of days we have to live, because if you sleep half the time, you've only got 15,000 days to really do what you want to do, and we cannot really afford to waste one of these days. We don't have to all explore, but we have to explore what we love doing. If it's our job, or if it's in journalism, or in medicine, or in engineering, or being an artist, just do with those days the most that you can. And that is when that sharing of my experiences becomes interesting. I'm not a very good social person in many ways. I love sharing what I do in my element with the people, and that's why I came up with the partnership with Explora, because I love taking people out of this luxury into the wild. And we must feel cold, because we're warm. We must feel hungry. We must suffer a little bit, because that makes us human. you will see that the vessel is an amazing exploration vessel. So I knew that it was very difficult to get from one place of the planet to another place. And it's even more difficult to get to remote places because nobody goes there. And for me as an explorer, I needed a tool, a vessel that can take me anywhere in the world. So that was the concept. I needed to build a vessel so I have the freedom to go where I want to go. But I didn't have the money. I wasn't from a rich family, so I had to be able to count on sponsorship and partnerships. And one day a gentleman came to me and said, "Mike, I really respect what you do. Do you have a dream?" I said, "Yeah, I have a dream of building this big boat, exploration boat, 35 meters." And he said, "How are you going to pay for it?" And I said, "I don't know, but I will find a way." And then he said to me, "Let's do a business deal. I will take your name, and the moment I take your name, I will give you the money to build the boat." So I sold my name, my intellectual property, to a group called the Richemont Group.
Yeah.
That's Cartier, Montblanc, Panerai, and it was a South African called Johann Rupert. And Johann Rupert, being South African, studied at the same university as us, or I studied he's a little bit older, studied at the same university he did. Understood that I will never achieve my dreams if I don't have the right equipment. And he didn't want to just give me the money to do it. There was supposed to be a business deal. And the moment he took my name and he gave me the vessel, I could go out there and do whatever I wanted to do. So I was sponsored by Mercedes-Benz for 22 years. I'm still sponsored by Panerai that supports my project. And with the MSC and the group of the Richemont knowing each other as well, we got introduced to the MSC group. And when the Explora vessel came out, that was exactly the moment that we could create this partnership that I can keep on exploring and then be able to add value to their brand as they add value to my brand. You know, Carl, it's unbelievable when you lose somebody that gives you the freedom to live. I never thought for one moment in my life that I thought I will die before she did, because I was taking all the risks. But then you realize, in fact, that she was such an angel. She was so giving and not at all selfish. For me to be able to do what I do was the reason why she felt that she was contributing to a bigger picture. And when she was really ill, and I felt so sad and maybe selfish. I didn't want her to die because it's selfish. I want her with me. But in fact, she can't stay with me. I don't own her. And at that moment, she was living through so much pain that I said, but maybe I should die with her. Maybe the only respect I can show her is if I actually die with her. And when I spoke to her about it, and she looked me in the eyes, she said, "Mike, your whole life you were fighting to stay alive, and now you're willing to die. I don't think that's normal." And then she said something that really changed my thought process. She said, "Why do you want to die with me if you can live for me?" And that made me realize that yes, we can live for others that we love. We can inspire people. And in a way, life is not forever. And what she said was really touching to me. She said, you are going to die as well one day. And we all die, but we don't all live. So while you're alive, live. And to me, that's exactly what I was trying to do. But when you have that massive loss, I lost my father when I was 18. Now, icon to me, I lost my mother, I lost my sister, I lost my wife. I've lost everybody that I love. But each time you kind of stand up and you look up and you say, wow, I can live for all of them. And you can feel their presence when you cross. That's why maybe I go out there, because in nature there's a presence, there's an energy, not always in the cities and in places like this, but when I go out alone, I feel I'm with those people. So I crossed the South Pole, and I was sailing up to the North Pole because I did an expedition called Pole to Pole, the first circumnavigation of the world crossing both poles. And in a massive typhoon 10, I went to Hong Kong to look for shelter. And I was not supposed to go there, but the weather pushed me there. And I arrived in a bay where I was sheltered by the wind. And this bay was called Deepwater Bay in Hong Kong. And I dropped the anchor in front of the building where now my wife was living, not knowing at all that something like that would happen. And she was looking through the window and basically seeing this vessel come in, and everybody was fighting to survive. And there was this one boat dropping anchor, and then obviously she came out to see who it was, and straight away it was like, wow, yes, we talked, we shared a moment together. And when she left, I said, wow, this is amazing, because I'm not looking for somebody, but I think some way nature has sent us together. And because she lived through the same experience with loss, and I lived through the same experience with loss, we were living in different parts of the world and suffered the same loss, and that made us get together. I think we can provoke luck. We can put luck on our side. And I've never won any money, so I cannot play in the casino because I'm not lucky. But I'm lucky with life, because if you do good, if your heart is good, if your values are true, then you will find eternal love and luck. But now I'm on a 4-year expedition. I'm on a 4-year adventure called What's Left. And this 4-year adventure is a little bit selfish, because I still have dreams. And when I spend winter in Greenland, frozen in the ice, I have the freedom to go and climb mountains and cross the ice cap where nobody else does that. So I have, in all the different parts in the world, I have big dreams. One up in the Arctic, one in the Amazon, one in Patagonia, one in Antarctica, and then one in Australia. So those places will be my next expeditions for the next 4 years. And then I will get back home when I'm 62, and then I'm sure I will have new ideas to go out there and keep on exploring until I get to 100 years old.
Thanks for watching this movie. I do hope you will follow us on many other extraordinary in bed with luxury journeys to amazing hotels, cruises and trains all around the world. Do not miss our next episode. Simply click on the subscribe button and recommend us. See you soon, and don't forget, enjoy life. Yours,